you got the soul. The soul affects these hydrogen, the helium. Call that lithium. I don't know all the symbols for these. Forgive me. I'm not perfect in this capacity anyway. Beryllium, boron, carbon, oxygen. Alright, let's just do this. Let's get rid of that right there. Okay. Now, the sun, or the soul, or the solar, the sun, the actual sun in the sky, it's contained of mostly hydrogen and helium. It's hydrogen and helium that you are, as far as the soul is concerned, or as far as the sun is concerned, the physical sun, which would be Ra. This physical sun houses life. It houses all life outside of itself. So you got hydrogen and you got helium. Helium would be the daughter of hydrogen. Not the sun. Well, it is the sun. But it's the hydrogen that brings forth this helium, the lithium, the beryllium, boron, the carbon, oxygen. These are your first 8 elements. And this is the path of gas solidifying in this third dimensional state. And once it goes through these states, it begins to liquefy. Excuse me, I spelled that wrong. It starts to liquefy. That's what the sun, which is full of energy, which is also full of heat, once it left outside of itself, it began to liquefy. It went from a gaseous state into a liquid state. And it did this a step at a time. The further it got away from itself, it started to liquefy and even change form and create more illusions outside the circle and the square, as we covered in other classes, many classes, and I'll show you right here just as a brief example. You got 360 degrees in the circle and you got 360 degrees in the square. 2 different shapes holding the same degrees, creating the illusion of shape. So you went from the illusion of shape into the illusion of elements. And the elements themselves set up a mental illusion for you to take part in. Because the sun, the only way that the sun can take part here is for a state to be created, or for it to mentally create a state to exist in. So everything past this hydrogen and helium is basically coming out in order for the sun to hold its exact same confirmation, or its exact same affirmation that it exists. And it separated itself from itself the same way we separate itself from itself in order to be here. The sun took the same process and it allowed us a construct to come through and to bear witness to its existence. This is why your ancient Egyptian ancestors, which aren't ancient anymore, I keep saying that, it's modern. And I'm using the word Egyptian for lack of a better word, which is Tamarin. Ta-ma-re. Ta representing the dirt or the ground. Don't say the earth. Ground. or mu representing the water, the liquid. And you got Re, which is representative of the sun, right? Also the soul, right? Now you got earth, water, and sun. You need earth, water in order to acknowledge the sun. You need earth and water to acknowledge the sun. Or you need earth and water in order for the sun to operate and create more elements, which it does. It got 99 elements, and it starts to solidify. And its first form of solidification is through the gas. And this gas is your spiritual self. It's your spiritual energy that's creating an electromagnetic charge through this liquefied self, which is the liquid self, which is the liquid inside of your body, which is full of hydrogen, plus oxygen. That's H2O. That's how water is created. Now it has pieces of carbon in it. It has boron in it, beryllium and lithium and helium, of course. But its main ingredients is the hydrogen and the oxygen. And this hydrogen and oxygen is the solidified process that takes place and allows that sun to hit you with these rays. Some call it UV rays. They go into gamma rays, and they break down as it goes through the different spheres of this planet. Now, this 8 octave that the sun is vibrating on, which is a middle C, which is the Om sound. This Om sound vibrates through these stages of existence. These 8 stages of existence. You have a 9th stage called fluorine, right? This fluorine is the stage that begins the solidification process of grounding you here, or making you feel here on this earth, on this ground. That's why they say grounding. But what else grounds? Batteries. Batteries also have ground in them. And as we come into this 1080 degree awareness of this great day and time, you know, as I told y'all before about this 1080 degree frequency coming to this planet, you know, which Dr. Delbert Blair brought to our attention as of 2003 with the second sun coming in here into this solar system, sitting outside of it, which is also a planet-sized crab called Nibiru. This sun had 1080 degree vibrational energy. So with this sun coming in here and us using flat screen TVs with this 1080 degree of high definition, our reality had to start having a high definition on it. But the reality that's being given to you is not a reality. It's a false awareness. And it's based on a 360 degree circumference. Okay? And in these 360 degrees, things are cooking, or things are heating up, so to speak. And that's what's happening to these elements here. So at one point, we were using alkaline. We were using the alkaline or the alkalinity levels in order to get an electric charge here. But as we started to move into high definition, and we started to deal what they call it now 4G, and they call it the transmission of 4G transmission, meaning you can just pick it up out the air if you got the right type of construct or the right type of conductor, or like they call them modems today on the internet. You can pick up on the signal. Your cell phones even pick up on the signal, but they don't have no Duracell batteries in them no more. Anything that you're using is digital. And as we get digital, away from the old age of what they call analog, where things were more metal based, they're moving back into a gaseous state. And they tapped into this gaseous state when they started dealing with the lithium. Lithium is the first stage of gas that's moving things into a solidified state. In order for oxygen to exist, you need water, right? Or in order for the oxygen to be put into a state where it can be consumed, you have to be close to water, or you have to be close to land. You have many spheres before you even get to this land. You have an ionosphere. You have a thermosphere. You have a monosphere. Then you have an atmosphere. And the sun has to break through the different layers of these spheres. These are layers that the UV rays from the sun, let's call it the sun, has to come through. They start off with UV rays on an 8 octave. And as those vibrations come down, and in the UV rays, the ionosphere collects all the ions. In the thermosphere, it collects the heat. In the monosphere, it takes that sound and it breaks that sound down into a singular light and can be observed in this atmosphere. You know, ask people what the color of the sun is, or what color is the sun ray. They're gonna be like yellow, red, green. If you look at the sun for a few minutes, you can't tell what color it is. You can't even see the light that's going on here because you didn't tap back into that reality or that actuality. And all of this stuff is being broke down by the ionosphere. All the stuff that's happening outside of you is already taking place inside of you. It's taking place inside of you from the micronic level. All of these are physical laws. These are physical awarenesses that we have to be aware of in order to stay to keep our feet on solid ground, to keep ourselves in a place where we don't have to deal with no spookism no more. We're going to deal with our atomic self. We're going to deal with the molecular self. We're going to deal with the liquefied self, because this really exists. This is not something that you have to have faith in, or you have to believe, or something you have to look up in any form of scripture. Technology itself is advancing us to the point to deal with the self. And this is what we don't do with this technology that needs to start being done. We need to start using this technology to benefit us instead of using it to regress us. And the first pass of doing that is getting on the internet, getting on Google and looking this stuff up. Don't wait until you see somebody on the video. Don't wait until somebody talking about it on the Facebook or your Twitter or whatever. Get on it now and find out everything that's dealing with the solidified self. Because once you master yourself, you done mastered this life. That's what you're here for, is to master yourself. But you're mastering your lower self, which is the human self, which has been provided to you by the sun, Ra. Which Ra was provided in space and time by Re, who was the dark sun, who birthed out the Ra. And Ra didn't even come forth until after helium. It took helium in order for us to have a sun explosion. So all those states before that, those are daughters, or those are females of a darker sun that doesn't even exist on this side of existence, because it already knows who it is. But in order for a solidification process to take place, we had to start